So Deborah Pearlstein, welcome to Cardozo. This is your first year here. How do you like teaching here?
Oh, I love it. And I'm not just saying that. I really was trepidatious. I didn't know how much I had to contribute to first-year law students and to a law school community in some respects in general. But the student body and the faculty here are extraordinary, filled with people doing interesting things, not just in scholarship, but in the world. And to find that sort of extraordinary vibrancy kind of across the board was really better than I expected.
I'd like to hear more about your background as a human rights lawyer.
I was hired at Human Rights First, which used to be called the Lawyers Committee for Human Rights, in 2003. And the organization, which had by then existed for 25, 30 years, had mostly been focused on international human rights questions. After the attacks of 9/11 and the U.S. response, it became clear that there was going to be a significant human rights impact to U.S. national security policy on counterterrorism. And they wanted somebody to come in and found a program that looked at that and that had, as they put it, one foot in litigation and one foot in academia and one foot in communications. The opportunity to work on those issues in a very applied way at that very particular time in U.S. history seemed one I didn't want to pass up.
Do you think that human rights law is an expanding area that your students can look into for their years of practice?
So there's no doubt that human rights law has exploded over the last half century, right? It requires an ability or a willingness to think about law practice in a lot of different settings. So you can do human rights litigation. You can also do human rights advocacy work as an investigator, as a political advocate, working for the American government, working for international governmental organizations, working for non-governmental organizations. So if you begin to think of law as something other than going to a law firm and practicing there for your entire career, as I think a lot of students are increasingly thinking of, then the world of opportunities is really extraordinary.
As a constitutional law professor, what is it you hope your students take away from your class?
Cardozo is remarkable among modern sort of top-tier law schools in seeking and attracting and retaining faculty who are engaged in the world of law practice, whether it's domestic litigation or international law practice or everything in between. And I hope as we go through these cases, and I try to give them a sense of what these are like to litigate, what these are like to decide. What happens when the court gets a case to decide? Who are these people, the clerks? How do they evaluate the petitions that are coming before them? Who are these people, the lawyers? How do they make arguments that are more and less persuasive? And how do these issues arise in the world of contemporary society and politics, the world in which they're a part and they're soon going to be sort of special members? I also hope to give them a sense of sort of their own contemporary history. And as sort of sometimes vitriolic current political and legal debate is, and as difficult as it is to sometimes extract logical, rational arguments from the cacophony of sound out there, they have a special ability to make sense of it. To make sense of it historically, because they now know where we're coming from as a country, where this law has come from over time. And they have a responsibility to make sense of it as lawyers. And I hope through constitutional law to give them some ability to do that. And then finally, in constitutional law and anything I teach, I want to give them a set of tools. Right? So even if they don't practice constitutional law, they never have a case with a constitutional law issue, even if they leave the law entirely, they are now armed with a set of analytical capabilities, a set of interpretive capabilities, what to do with language, what to do with argument, how to be persuasive, how to affect change, that are tools that they can use almost no matter what they go on to do next.